nuclear scientists on facilities, not all the nuclear facilities, but some of them indeed. But watching those missiles, watching that interception, that was shot a little bit earlier. We saw a lot of smoke on the ground in Tel Aviv after one of those interceptions. It looked like one of those either interceptors or one of the missiles themselves. That smoke right there, where that landed and caused that smoke, I'm sure is of some concern right now.
And Martha, we can see that smoke cloud live now. I want to head over to our Marcus Moore, who's in a bomb shelter in Tel Aviv. Marcus, what are you seeing there?
Well, yeah, we are inside the shelter here that's in the hotel on the floor where we've been working. Moments ago, we heard the...
Oh, man. That is ABC News' coverage of Iran, or Iran, if you like, if you pronounce it like the Iron Sheik. Iran has struck back at Israel. Israel started striking Iran yesterday. This is important for us because, you know, I don't know what to tell you guys. It looks like this is the beginning stages, or at least the outbreak of possibly World War III. And we already know what the sides that are being drawn. So, you know, let's look at where we're at. Let's add some context. Israel attacked Iran yesterday with an operation codenamed Operation Rising Lion. And it began in the early morning hours of June 13th, 2025, targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, military installations, and their senior leadership. So they started yesterday bombing the hell out of Iran. Now, the thing that makes this important is that yesterday Donald Trump was all on Truth Social, all over the media, saying, we are negotiating with Iran. We are negotiating for peace. We want peace. We're going to negotiate with peace, for peace. And in order to sabotage that from happening, Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis launched this attack, knowing that Donald Trump will be forced to go along with it, and the United States government in general will be forced to go along with it, because as we talk about regularly on this show, Israel has completely cucked our government. Like, I hate to say it, but it's absolutely the truth. Israel has cucked our government. There's no other way to put it. Whatever they have on Donald Trump, whatever they had on Joe Biden, whatever they had on all of most of the senators we have in this country, I don't know. But the fact is, our government, the people in our government, are completely incapable of telling Israel no, and unwilling. And so yesterday, Iran started these strikes that were designed to degrade Iran's nuclear program, disrupt its ballistic missile capabilities, and eliminate key military and scientific personnel. Now, the reason they did that is not because necessarily Iran is just out diabolically building nuclear weapons. Iran's nuclear program is a point of pride to the Iranian people. They're very proud of the fact that they have built this nuclear program, not to just go around bombing innocent people. Remember, only one group of people have ever used an atomic, a nuclear weapon to destroy a civilian population. Anybody want to tell me who that is? The United States. Yes, when we vaporized Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. So Iran has not been out just bombing people willy-nilly and doing all these horrible things. They've been building a nuclear program for you know, their own personal power and all those other things. They have not used it against anybody. Now, what supposedly triggered this is that the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, declared that Iran was non-compliant with nuclear obligations on June 12th, which was yesterday. And Iran's announcement of a new uranium enrichment facility. And so after Gaddafi denuked himself, and he ended up being, let's just say, not treated very well with a bayonet in the streets of Tripoli. Other countries that have nuclear capabilities have said, no, that won't be me. So the Israelis and the United States, who've wanted this conflict for a long time with Iran, have purposely been pushing Iran to denuke themselves, knowing that they won't do it because, again, why would anybody, after seeing what happened to Muammar Gaddafi, why would they do that? Same thing with Russia. Same thing with North Korea. Nobody in their right mind, after seeing what happened to Gaddafi in 2011, at that point would say, yeah, you know what, we're going to denuke. No. That's just not going to happen. And so this has been the largest attack on Iran since the Iran-Iraq war, involving over 200 Israeli Air Force fighter jets in the initial wave, which was supported by the Israeli Defense Forces, which is the IDF. The targets included Iran's largest nuclear uranium enrichment site, which was housing the fuel enrichment plant and pilot fuel enrichment plant. The strikes caused a lot of damage, but we don't know what at least on the surface, we don't know to the extent the underground facilities have been damaged. The IAEA has not reported any elevated radiation levels, but they are continuing to monitor the situation. In Isfahan, a nuclear facility was hit, though the specifics on the damage are limited. There's been a few other places that were hit, some military installations, air defense systems, including dozens of radars and surface-to-air missile launchers, were destroyed, which has weakened Iran's ability to counter further strikes. Their missile production facilities and ballistic missile programs components were targeted to curb Iran's long-range capabilities. The IRGC headquarters in Tehran were set on fire, and their military bases near Tehran and Tabriz near the airport were hit. There were also attacks on residential areas like Sharek-e-Mahalati in eastern Tehran, where senior IRGC officers were residing, and they actually caused some of the residential complexes to collapse. You know, they actually did this. So some of the casuals have been Hossein Soleimani, who was the IRGC commander-in-chief. He was killed. Mohammed Hossein Bagheri, who was the chief of staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, he was killed. Amir Ali Hajadzadeh, who was the head of the IRGC Aerospace Forces, he's killed. Gholamali Rashid, who's the deputy chief of the general staff, he's killed. Some of their nuclear scientists were killed. At least 20 Iranian military commanders have been killed. There seems to be a lot of civilian casualties, including women and children, with over 50 injured in Tehran's Tajarist district. And so, you know, this is a big attack. Now, how has Iran responded? Iran has launched, as we learned at the top of the segment, they've launched their own attack. They've sent over 100 drones to Israel, which were intercepted by the Israeli Navy and air defenses. They've launched dozens of missiles, causing explosions in Tel Aviv and other areas. Now, the overwhelming majority of them were intercepted. But the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said that there will be severe punishment. And again, Iran's not a country you want to mess around with. They have 90 million people. Iran's not a small country. I think people, because they're right next to Iraq, they tend to think that, you know, Iraq and Iran are the same, you know, basically mirroring countries. No, Iran is much bigger than Iraq. There's a reason we invaded Iraq, but not Iran. Like, there's a reason for that. You know, Iraq is 50 million people. Iran is 90 million people. Iran has many more people, had much more of a sophisticated military program than Iraq did. So we're talking about two totally different entities here. You know, Iran is nothing to be played with. And they, you know, so also Iran is, you know, has ties to Russia, to North Korea, to, you know, China, to all these entities. Remember, you know, China's the second largest country in the world, has the second largest economy in the world. Russia is the world's biggest nuclear state. Russia has more nuclear weapons than we do here in the United States. We are not talking about any countries that should be taken lightly here. We are talking about conflicts that can get tens of millions of people killed. Maybe 100 million people killed. I am not exaggerating here. And so when the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is saying, yeah, there's going to be severe punishment, and calling these strikes a big crime and is promising a harsh response, I think you better believe him. Now, President Donald Trump was informed in advance of these attacks. He's saying that the U.S. did not assist militarily. Now, the IDF, the Israelis, are saying that the U.S. absolutely participated, which is a horrible move on our part. Again, this is World War III we're looking down the barrel at right here. And in response, the U.S. has evacuated non-essential personnel from embassies in Iraq, Bahrain, and Kuwait because they know Iran's going to retaliate. And rightfully so. Why would they not? Marco Rubio, the bootlicker that he is, has emphasized that the U.S. was not involved but supported Israel's right to self-defense. What self-defense? They're preemptively striking people. Now, the rest of the world is obviously on edge about this. Saudi Arabia has condemned the strikes, while the United Kingdom, the European Union, and Germany are urging for de-escalation. UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called this escalation counterproductive. He knows what's up. He knows it's about to get real. The Houthis that we're fighting in Yemen right now have warned that an attack on Iran could drag the entire region into war. And that's when you get, again, Russia and China, North Korea, and these other nuclear states being dragged into the conflict. Now, in the past, Trump had discouraged Netanyahu from striking Iran to prioritize nuclear talks, but Israel allegedly has proceeded unilaterally, straining coordination. Some people in the U.S. are worried about Israel's actions believing that they could pull the U.S. into a broader conflict. Dude, we're already there. It's too late for that. We're already there. If you are in the military, quit. If your kids are in the military, get them to quit. This is not the time to join the military or to be in the military. They want you to go over there to the Middle East and die for Israel. No matter how many times the American people tell, whether it's Biden or Trump or the Democrats or the Republicans, we do not want to die for Israel, they do not care. Whatever the Israelis have, blackmail or whatever bribery they have of our politicians, they're going to proceed regardless. And they expect you and your children and your grandchildren in some of these cases to go out there and die for Israel. That is what is expected. You know, it's unfortunate to say, but it is the truth. They expect you and your children and your grandchildren to die for Israel. And it's important to state that Israel has wanted this for a very long time. You can go back to 1999. Netanyahu and Israel are saying, oh, Iran's going to have a bomb by next year. It's like, you know, that was 26, 27 years ago. They have wanted any excuse. The war hawks have wanted any excuse to destroy Iran for the last 25, well, hell, since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, basically. Now, for decades, the conflict was pretty indirect. You know, was basically proxies with Iran backing militant groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, while Israel targeted Iranian assets in Syria and other places to disrupt arms transfers and nuclear advances. But, you know, October 7th, that was the thing that Israel needed to escalate this and, again, drag the United States into what could be a nuclear conflict. There is no coming back from nuclear conflicts. You're talking about millions of people dead in a few minutes type conflicts. Imagine Hiroshima and Nagasaki on a large scale. That is what we are talking about here. And so, I mean, we really have to look at this situation with extreme caution. You know, the fact that the U.S. president could come out yesterday and say specifically, we want talks with Iran, we want peace with Iran, we're going to make a deal with Iran. We've made a deal with Iran, and Israel can just decide they want to, you know, throw all that away, shows you who's really in charge here. And it ain't Donald Trump. Now, it is important to say, before I go to a break here, because it's 6:30 already, Obama signed a deal with Iran that limited their nuclear program. 98% of their uranium was cut. Their centrifuges were capped. They agreed to UN inspections. And for that, they had their sanctions lifted in 2018. Donald Trump, when he was in power the first time, scrapped that. So there actually was an Iranian deal. There was a deal between the United States and Iran. Donald Trump, at the behest of Israel, again, Benjamin Netanyahu, got rid of it. Now, Joe Biden, when he got elected, he could have brought it back. But again, Joe Biden, being owned by Israel like he is, him and Anthony Blinken, they refused to go back to it and wouldn't sign back on it unless it was strengthened. So they poisoned the water some more. so that we couldn't have a deal to, again, de-escalate and prevent nuclear war on a scale that this world has never seen before. This is why I tell you guys, voting for either one of these parties really isn't going to, solve the issue here. Both of these parties are corrupt. They are bought off. In the case of Israel, I think a lot of these people have to be blackmailed. I don't think Elon Musk was lying a few weeks ago when he said Donald Trump was in the Epstein files. We know Bill Clinton is probably in them too. And other Republicans and Democrats are in them too. We know that Epstein was most likely an Israeli Mossad agent who was there basically running a honeypot operation to catch politicians, to blackmail politicians. And so again, when you put that into context, you understand why they might be so quick to just rush to Israel's side at any time, regardless of what they do. And as for Benjamin Netanyahu, he actually got on his plane and left Tel Aviv after the strikes. And so Iran is currently, I guess, retaliating for what Israel did, and Benjamin Netanyahu himself is out of the country. He's in Greece. Isn't that how it always is, folks? All right, folks. When we come back, we're going to get into these LA uprisings, riots, protests, whatever the hell you want to call them, about immigration, and why it's not just good and bad, good versus evil, the way that the media is presenting it. We'll be right back here on WLTH 1370M. That's 92.7 in the FM dial. Straight out of the cannon. We'll be right back after these.